Ana-Maria, sunt masterand anul 2, specialitate traducere și interpretare de conferință. Voi prezenta în limba engleză. The topic of our research is linguistic and cultural dimension of food terminology translation. The topicality of our research is linked to the fact that cuisine terminology is a more complex field that includes from cooking methods to certain dishes and recipes, and also carrying cultural elements, and the possibility of accessing these recipes is possible through translation. The goal of our research is to study the linguistic and cultural dimension of food terminology translation by applying the necessary theoretical material in the practical analysis of cuisine terminology. Our objectives were to analyze the means of internal means of cuisine term formation as well as semantic relationships, to exemplify and illustrate culture-bound terms, as well as identify the translation techniques used in rendering cuisine terminology. As methods, we use the bibliographical method to gain the necessary theoretical knowledge, as well as qualitative and quantitative research. Our research was based on the works of prominent linguists such as Gregory Fuster, Mona Baker, Peter Newmark, Stephen Jones, and others. The corpus of our research was based on Jamie's 30 Minutes Meal cookbook, which includes a diversity of recipes, and therefore it has many cuisine terminology which belongs to certain to different cultural backgrounds. In our research, we approached internal means of cuisine transformation as compounding, which is considered to be one of the most productive and most common means of term formation. Compounding is divided into closed compound terms such as breadcrumb, meatball, and also open compound terms such as white cream, sour cream, and also hyphenated compound terms such as French-style beef, stir-fry. Another means of term formation is derivation, by which a new term is created by adding an affix. Affixation is divided into prefixation, for example, unroll, unwrap, and suffixation, saltiness, sweetness. Another means of term formation is abbreviation, which in cuisine terminology is not as frequent as compounding, for example. Examples of abbreviation are grams, also clipping we have, bag from vegetable, and abbreviations are mostly related to units of measurements. Next slide. One important aspect to mention when we speak about cuisine terminology is borrowing. It represents one of the most frequently used method. From the point of view of their adaptation to the Romanian language, we have non-assimilated terms and assimilated terms. Some of them were included in important Romanian lexicographic works such as Domnoi. Examples of borrowing are prosciutto, courgette, pancetta, and others. Also we have kimchi, halloumi, ganache, mousse. Next slide. In order to determine which is the most frequent method of term formation, we analyzed 150 terms, and therefore we established that the most frequent is compounding, followed by borrowing. Another aspect that we have analyzed is terminologization, which in cuisine terminology is exemplified by such terms as feeling, to will. Also we have approached determinologization, which is exemplified by stale, to simmer, flavors. Next. One aspect important to mention when speaking about cuisine terms is semantic relationships. The most common is monosemy, as it should be in terminology. Examples of monosemy we have dessert, puff, pastry, which have a single meaning. Also polysemy, which means that a term has more than one meaning, related meaning. We have examples such as pudding, next one, sauce. Also we have semantic relationships as an antonymy and synonymy. Synonymy is exemplified by broth and soup, by griddle pan and grill. Anatomy is exemplified by such terms as raw and cooked, wrapped and wrapped. Next one. One of the almost most important aspects when speaking about cuisine term formation is culture-bound words. In this field we have such examples as spaghetti and pizza, which are related more to Italian cuisine. Also Mexican cuisine is also influential. We have examples as tortilla, guacamole, salsa. When speaking about translation, means of translation techniques used to render cuisine terminology from English into Romanian, we observe that we use such methods as equivalence. For example, a pinch of salt is translated as un praf de sare. Next. Transposition, which means changing the grammatical category. For example, to flavor is translated as aroma from verb to noun. Also, mash is translated as puree. Next. Also, we have addition. For example, balsamic is translated as oțet balsamic, adding the word oțet. Next. Also, expansion. For example, tongs is translated as clești de bucătărie, and this method is usually used when referring to such ustensile de bucătărie. Next. And in order to determine which is the most frequent translation technique used, we have analyzed around 60 examples. And thus we have determined that the most used translation technique is equivalence, followed by addition. Also important methods of translation are transposition, followed by reduction. Next. And as a conclusion, we have to mention that analyzing internal means of term formation, we have reached the conclusion that the most frequent is compounding, followed by borrowing. Also, when translating the cuisine terminology, we have to pay attention to culture-bound words because they carry a cultural element that has to be somehow preserved and rendered carefully in the target language. Next. Next. Recommendation. As a recommendation, we have to mention that we have to pay attention to the cultural part of the cuisine terminology, and as well as to their meaning, in order to render them properly. These are some of the bibliography. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation.